The thrill of competition comes down to two very simple things: the euphoria of victory and the agony of defeat.
Emp Lemon opened one of the greatest sports videos ever made, Art of the Choke, with a thought about why we watch sports in the first place, and he's totally right. No matter what sport you're watching, you eventually want to see someone win and someone lose. It's that battle that draws thousands upon thousands of people into the crowd to watch up close, and potentially millions of others watching at home on their screens. But what happens when we're robbed of that competition? What happens when the ability to see who will win and who will lose gets taken away? Not by the rules of the game, not like a tie in the NFL that only happens because the clock ran all the way out. No, what happens when the man takes the competition away from the fans? Well, let's find out. It's the 2002 MLB All-Star Game in Milwaukee, meant to be a celebration of the best in baseball for a competitive yet lighthearted exhibition. Remember though, it is an exhibition, so in the grand scheme of things, this game doesn't count for anything really. Plenty of the most iconic players from the time are in the lineup across the American League and the National League. Ichiro Suzuki, A-Rod, Mike Piazza, Manny Ramirez, Sammy I Never Test a Positive Sosa, and the big one, which we'll get back to in a second. Things seem normal and uneventful for the first few batters. The first 5 batters come up and make outs until the guy who made the least outs of this era, or possibly any era, comes up to the plate. You know who I'm talking about. The guy whose first name is a topping on a yogurt bowl. Barry Bonds set the record for home runs in a season with 73 the year before this. He is the most featured hitter in the world because he, at age 37, is hitting home runs more than anyone ever has. Oh, don't mind the needle in his back pocket. That's just his, diabetes medication. And it looks like he's about to get another one for all the fans here. Who is that? Said 99% of the world watching this game. That was the world's introduction to Torii Hunter, the center fielder for the Minnesota Twins. This is easily the career-defining moment, robbing a home run from Barry Bonds to save a run for the world to see, and then got lifted off the ground by Barry Bonds on the way back to the dugout, because that's how batters typically respond to being robbed, right? I sure hope that doesn't come back to be really important later. You want to know something funny though? Bonds does hit a home run in his next at-bat, off of future Hall of Fame pitcher Roy Halladay. For one, because of course he did. It also shows how poetic baseball can be, that you can get robbed of a home run your first at-bat, only to hit one far enough away from Torii Hunter the second time to finally get one. And making that moment all the more special for both players. But for now though, that balloons the game to a 4-0 NL lead in the 3rd inning. Like what, are the NL All-Stars bringing the Mets bullpen in to try to complete the game? But then, little by little, the AL chips away over the next couple innings with an RBI single from Manny Ramirez and a solo home run from Alfonso Soriano. Diamondbacks catcher Damian Miller does hit a double to get the lead back up to 3 for the NL, but in the top of the 7th, the AL is like, hold my beer.
A lot of good, a little bad, and he reaches out and dumps one into left field. Well hit into left center field. Back at the wall.
Boom, 6-5 AL, top 7th. Because this game is crazy though, Mike Lowell singles with 1 out in the 7th for the NL, Damian Miller doubles again, and Lance Berkman singles them both in to make it 7-6 NL. And there you go, that was about it. Now that all that craziness is over.
2 others, Urbina and Rivera, that's down into the right field corner. That is trouble. It gets down fair. The tying run scores. Vizquel will cruise into 3rd base. He's the go-ahead run, and it's 7-7 here in the 8th.
Wow, the All-Star Game sure is fun, isn't it? This is what the crowd signed up for. The best of the best duking it out in a fun, back-and-forth, competitive game. Exactly how the league would have drawn it up. And as we go down even further into the game, it continues to stay a tense battle of having no idea who's going to come out on top after all the excitement. Some of the best relievers in baseball are on and take out the opponents without any threat. So well, in fact, that 9 innings are not enough to decide a winner. The pitchers for each team become Vicente Padilla of the Philadelphia Phillies and Freddie Garcia of the Seattle Mariners. Both are starting pitchers, which is an interesting change of pace from the relievers we've been seeing carve up these lineups. But it's more symbolic of a very serious problem this game is about to face. You may have noticed that practically every clip from this game has a different pitcher. That's customary in the All-Star Game. Nearly everyone available to play in the game gets to play for 2 reasons. One is the obvious one of the fans getting to see all the All-Stars get into a game and have some fun. The second one is, especially for pitchers, to not overwork anybody and send them back either hurt or disadvantaged back to their regular teams. So they're obviously not going to have the same pitcher pitch for like most of the game or anything. They'll take him out and swap him out with someone else. It's supposed to be a light and fun time after all. Padilla and Garcia are both the last pitchers each team has available. And in just the 10th inning of the sport where the games theoretically could go on forever, that's a really serious concern. It's also amazing that it took just 10 innings for this to happen. The 2008 All-Star Game wound up going 15 innings with enough pitchers to scrape by, and a max of only 3 innings thrown for one guy since it started to get desperate. An even bigger problem starts to mound when Padilla and Garcia each go through the 10th inning, on to the 11th now. Everyone involved just wants this game to end. The players, the coaches, the organizers, everyone except the fans. The managers don't want to have to just ride out these two pitchers for eternity, which is very much still on the table here. So when Padilla gets Tony Batista to fly out to right field to end the top of the 11th, both managers sneak off to talk with Bud Selig, the commissioner of baseball, to figure out what in the world they're going to do here. And then, with one out in the bottom of the 11th, the public address announcer makes the worst statement possible in the ears of the fans.
It's been decided that the game will end in a tie if a run is not scored this inning.
If the NL does not score in this inning to win the game, it's over. It'll be a tie. The fans hate this and start chanting, "Let them play," which is a reference to the second Bad News Bears movie, which had the exact same chant in it. But they hate it for a very easy reason to understand. They have sat through nearly 3.5 hours now, and only now they're being told that there might not even be a winner or loser. These fans want to see someone celebrate, anyone at all. But now we're 2 outs away from everyone going home and just feeling bad. In their eyes, this was squarely on Bud. As it stands on the field though, the NL is gonna have a chance to change that. Show Mike Lowell single.
Lowell gets on with a base hit. And again, if the National League scores a run, that announcement and the decision that happened between the top and the bottom half of the 11th would be irrelevant.
A wild pitch sends Lowell to second base, a single that will make everything I just said vanish from existence. The NL has a shot to send baseball fans and personnel home with the biggest sigh of relief ever taken. Because think about it from MLB's perspective too. They have to choose between mercy killing this game early to save pitchers' arms and calling it a premature tie, or potentially run pitchers dry until they can't throw anymore, in which case a team would probably have to drop down to just 8 available players and therefore forfeit. And I don't know about you guys, but a tie is way less ugly than a forfeit in an all-star game that everyone gets to see. Also, did you happen to notice who was batting? Vicente Padilla has to bat for himself in the 11th inning of a tie game with the winning run on second base. Pitchers only ever bat in this spot if something has gone terribly wrong with the roster management or lack of available players to take a swing here instead. So it's a sad but not that surprising end to his night when he strikes out swinging. 2 outs. San Francisco Giants catcher Benito Santiago is now the only thing that stands in the way of a tie in baseball, which does not do ties.
Garcia with a 2-2 pitch to Santiago. Game over. This game ends in a 7-7 tie after 11.
And there it is. The most awkward, demoralizing end to an All-Star game in All-Star Game history. A forced tie. The outrage was quite loud from the fans who felt they just got screwed because this is such a bizarre and unexpected outcome for such a visible game. But the league did have one thing to lean on in its defense, and that was that at the end of the day, this was just an exhibition. It wasn't supposed to matter who won or lost. Most fans didn't care whatsoever though, and they made their voices heard.
Very painful decision. You couldn't ask for much more, except it was a tie.
I want to take this opportunity to apologize to the fans that were here. Obviously, their unhappiness was understood by all of us, but in the middle of that inning, both Joe Torre and Bob Brenly came to me and said they were out of players. They were out of pitchers.
And other managers entrust us with their players. And the last thing we want to do is send home a guy who's not going to be able to compete for the ball club, who's paying his salary and expecting him to go out there and perform in front of his home fans.
You want to know what the slogan for the 2003 MLB All-Star Game would end up being? This time, it counts. Major League Baseball, either motivated by the fans' outrage or the embarrassment of the incident, driven to never let it happen again, implemented a change. The winning team of the All-Star Game would have their respective team in the World Series get the home field advantage, really giving this game something to play for, because until 2003, the World Series just rotated back and forth between the AL and NL for who'd have the home field advantage. Now, in the wake of the embarrassing admission that the All-Star Game meant nothing, it was now going to mean a whole lot more for teams with World Series hopes. And it's really telling that this change went into effect the soonest possible moment it could after this incident. It really did change the future of the game and the league. All the big World Series Game 7s had their fates indirectly shaped by the All-Star Game winner deciding what team was going to have the home field in the biggest game of the entire season. And if that sounds a little weird or too much of a swing the other way by the pendulum, it eventually became clear that it was. In 2016, the All-Star Game was played at a National League park in San Diego. The American League was the home team though, based on the recent back and forth alternating of which league was going to be the home team for the All-Star Game now that the stakes were so much higher. This made it really weird when a San Diego Padre hit a double at his home stadium wearing a road Padres uniform. When the AL won the 2016 All-Star Game, which eventually gave the Cleveland Indians the home field advantage for the World Series, that was the last time the All-Star Game ever mattered for that. Because beginning in 2017, the bright idea of, gee, maybe we should just give it to whichever team was better in the past season would eventually win out. And the All-Star Game became a fun exhibition again. Does that open the door for a tie to sneak back in and send everyone home with an awkward taste in their mouths? Sure, but let's hope it never comes to that again. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for watching. As always, my name is FICO. If you like this video, sub to the channel. It helps us out a ton. And if you want, you could type literally anything in the comments. It just helps us with the algorithm. And maybe leave a like or whatever, you know. Whatever. It just helps. Anyways, have a lovely day, gamers. Peace.